Welcome to my job hunt vlog. I decided to vlog my experience of being on the job hunt fresh out of university, so in case you are currently in a similar predicament situation, maybe this can give you some sort of hope, encouragement, feel seen, whatever it might be doing for you. I hope that you enjoy this video. There is probably going to be two parts of this video, so let's get into part number one. First of all, who am I? Hi, I'm Bettina. I make content on here all about sewing, textiles, fabrics, and that is also what my background is in. I've been sewing for over 10 years, got my bachelor's in textile technology and textile management, and just finished my master's in garment development. I have had, within that bachelor's, I did two 6-month-long internships at two very different companies, very different tasks to get my first look into the industry itself. But I do not have any 5-year-long work experience. So I finished my master's right around the time that all of the big 3 companies within my field started laying people off here in Germany. So here's how the process went. Let's start off with a little timeline. Early August, I handed in my thesis. Mid-August is when I started applying for jobs, and then early October is when I actually had my final presentation for uni, when I would officially become unemployed, because before that I was still officially a uni student up until that point. Let's go all the way back to July. So in July, I was working at a sustainable fashion store here in Berlin, working on their social media, and I was doing that as a mini job. Now, a mini job in Germany means anything up to like around 550 euros a month, which is not a lot of hours. My plan was to up the hours on that job for my in-between time while searching for long-term positions. So I was hoping to be able to, once I graduated from uni, up the hours on that job, stay in that job for a couple more months, and then slowly figure out where I was going to be heading, potentially even moving away from Berlin. That ended up not being possible. I found out about that, I would say, early July. And because of that, I started applying for jobs in mid-August. So like I said, early August, I handed in my thesis. Then I took probably like 5 days really off, and then I started looking for jobs. During that job hunt, I was looking for 2 different types of positions. Number one, I was looking for development positions. So a developer in fashion is essentially the person between the designer and the production. So whatever the designer designs, you translate for the production. You tell them which seams you want, which buttons you want, which color you want. You get color swatches, you get strike offs, which means just like a swatch of the fabric. You say, okay, the color is good or it isn't. You get samples, you measure them, you approve them, you don't approve them, you say what needs to be changed. You're essentially the middleman. This is what I have most experience in from my internships, and it's a position I see myself doing in the future. So those were the main jobs I was looking for. And then the second type of position I was looking for was social media positions here in Berlin. Development positions in the fashion world are very, very limited, and there is currently, I think, like 2, max 3 open positions in Berlin. And because of that, I decided to look for social media positions in Berlin as well, because I have, as you know, plenty of experience with social media as well. And those, therefore, from what I was seeing, were easier to come by. I had 2 issues initially. Number one, I do not want to represent a brand that I don't personally stand behind. So especially for the social media positions, I was very, very picky on which companies I was willing to apply to or not, because I'm not going to put my face behind a company that I do not want to stand for or represent. And then number 2, on the other hand, for the development positions, was the location of the headquarters. So essentially, fashion companies usually sit where textile companies used to sit, which most of the time no longer are actually in Germany. And they used to sit wherever there was a ton of space and water. So essentially, you have headquarters for big fashion companies in a random small town next to a slightly larger town, somewhere next to a river in the middle of nowhere. And that, for me, is not where I see myself living within the next 10-ish years or so. So because of that, I was also very limited on the development positions and which of those actually sounded appealing to me and my life. Cut to me in the thick of it, 1 month into this entire process. I did end up, however, applying to 14 jobs in total so far. I got 6 no's. I have 6 who have not answered yet, and I don't think are going to be answering. The last answer I got actually this morning, and it was one that I applied to exactly a month ago, so they definitely took their time. 14 minus 6 minus 6, still 2. I did get 2 interview invites. Let's talk about those. Number 1 was a development position, full-time preferably in a smaller town next to a bigger city, quite a ways away from here, that I would have to move for. The interview went pretty well. I talked with 2 ladies. They were incredibly kind. I just don't think I see myself at the company for different reasons. So I want to say no to them. I told them I would give them feedback up until today. So I still need to make that decision today, which is very, very hard. The reason I hesitated with the interview is because the other place actually more or less was set. So I got another interview invite. This was a position originally supposed to be a Werkstudentenstelle. Now, Werkstudent means that you are a college student. It's taxed differently, this, that, and whatever, so it's a lot more affordable to have a Werkstudent than to have a part-time position. I applied and I was like, hey, I'm no longer a student when I want to start working, but I would love to do it as a part-time position. Here are my credentials, this is my background, this is what I know. The position itself was a marketing position, but a marketing position for a fair fashion company, so something I know a lot about. I had an interview that went pretty well, and then essentially they said, well, we can offer you one of 2 options, either X amount of hours or X amount of hours and like these and these tasks added to it. And then they wanted to do still an interview in person and then get an example of my work, because my social media work so far, everything you can find is in English, and they wanted to see what kind of, you know, how I speak, how I word things in German. 2 days ago, I ended up going to the office. We ended up having the meeting. I very much, when I have situations like this, obviously I analyze my own behavior, I analyze other people's behavior, as we all do, and I do very often have situations where I'm like, oh my goodness, I shouldn't have said that. Oh no, that didn't go well. That was awkward. That was strange. I did not feel that way 2 days ago. I actually thought it went very, very well, and it sounded incredibly positive. It sounded like it was almost set, and essentially she was like, all right, then just, you know, either I'll send you a topic or you think of a topic and then give us an example of it. And then yesterday I had work at my old workplace. On my way to work, because on the train I already worked on wording some stuff, essentially had the post almost ready. Went to work, started working, and about 4 hours into my shift I get a pretty short but kind email saying, we discussed it yesterday and unfortunately we can't offer you the position, which honestly, I was very, very surprised by. I am, in general, you know, whenever I get a no after an interview, it happens, it sucks, there might be reasons for it, but because the conversation went so well and they had been speaking so positively about the entire thing, I really thought it was set. And so for the last couple of days, I have been just very calm, and I've been very excited for, you know, my job search to finally be over. Well, it is back on, so let's get into job search part 2 and what I'm going to be doing about this. All right, step 1 is I looked at my master spreadsheet. And when I say that, I mean my little Excel chart that tells me where I've already applied to, when I applied, when I got answers, if I got answers, where the info is on that job. And I looked at the one that I haven't gotten answers for yet and looked into how badly I would actually want these. So if I have like a somewhat better option that I could apply to, which one would I want more? The one that's already on the list that I've already applied to, or the new ones? And honestly, on the list, there is exactly one that I would rank higher. Not the very specific position, but roughly the position, the company, and the location. Thinking about my chances of getting it, I do not believe it's actually even online anymore, that position, and my chances of getting that position are, and have always been, lower than 1% because I am very, very, very sure they gave that position to someone within the company, which is why I never heard a no thank you, because they never even looked at outside applications. I'm pretty sure that is the situation for that specific job. So that one I can forget about. Everything else I've already applied to, I can essentially forget about because none of them are super duper important to me. Step number 2, think about which ones did I kind of come across the last month where I thought this is not the best fit, but maybe something could be done. And there is one that I remembered that had a couple of positions open. None of them were perfect for me. I wanted to send them an application to no specific position, but just in general, hey, this is me. I could do these or these things. Do you have anything that could work for me? Do you guys need someone like me right now? I just looked at their website again, and there is one position that's actually very close to what I would like, which is what got my spirits up this morning in the first place and to make this video and everything else. I just got a couple of things, a couple of to-dos done because life goes on. Put a laundry in the machine and so on. I'm now going to apply to that position, and I honestly, for my last couple of applications, kind of kept them a little, I think, too professional and plain and simple, and for this one I just want to be straight to the point and say what I need to say. Essentially, the position, once again, is supposed to be for a student worker, but I would like it as a part-time position, which means I would cost them more because I want a little bit more hours, and also I definitely want better pay than what they would pay a student worker. And now I need to justify why they would still take me. And essentially, I will honestly lay that out in the application. I'll be like, here's the deal. I would want it part-time. I would want better pay than a student worker. I know that that is going to be more expensive for you. So here's why, like what makes me specifically good for this role. And there are many things in my experiences and my background that set me up to be actually very, very qualified and good for this specific role. And then today there's 2 other things that I need to do. Number 1, the one that is still open, the one that I have to move for, the one where I said I don't really mesh well with the company. I told them I would give them feedback until today, like I said, I believe. I'm gonna tell them no. And that is probably the hardest decision I've had to make in the last 24 hours, but I thought about it, and I would rather not have a job for 2 months and kind of be in like kind of a weird limbo and figure something out and have something that kind of fits here rather than move to a completely new city and have something that kind of fits there. That's the status. Let's write that application, shall we? Alright, I just sent off the application. So essentially I wrote exactly what I said I would, and then the way I send it off, I turn that cover letter into a PDF. I have currently 2 different CVs because, like I said, I'm applying both to development roles and also social media roles. So I have one specifically for social media, one specifically for development. The experience I have in each of the fields is just given a little bit more space on each of them. I have one document which has all of my other application stuff in there. So stuff from uni, which courses did I have, which grades did I have, so they know kind of my background and my knowledge based on that. And then also reference letters from previous employers. All of those things are in one document, so all I have to do is just add that document. And then what I do is I go onto an online tool to put all my PDFs together, and I put it all into one document. So essentially all I needed to do was write the cover letter and then just put everything together. I did that, I sent it off, and then I checked Fashion United for any other jobs in Berlin. And honestly, there's not that many new ones since I checked last time about a month ago. So about a month ago, I stopped my first round of applications. I took way too long of a break. Laundry number 2 is actually already hung up as well. I'll get back onto the laptop now. There's 2 things that I'm gonna start with. Number 1, there is a video that I need to edit and upload for work today, so I'm gonna do that first. And then number 2, I also actually need to post on my socials. I'll do that as well. And then number 3, I am going to I'm gonna set myself probably a 1 or 1.5 hour timer to do some more job searching and potentially apply to at least one more role. It is Monday. I don't know when my last check-in was. I just put in a new battery into this camera because honestly I've been realizing I've been liking the vlogging more than I have been the short form content. I've had not a very good start to the day in general. I've just been feeling very sorry for myself again today, but I have to get myself up and moving and do some stuff. I got up in the morning, wanted to take a shower, ended up taking a bath, which was very nice. Was on my phone for a little bit too long and just finally got my very first to-do done. I finished my very last reel for my previous job, and then it is already 1 p.m. so I'm gonna make myself lunch soon. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I will look once again on like the basic job search websites if anything was posted in the last couple of hours, really just since this morning, because nothing was posted on the weekend, so I'm assuming nothing's gonna come up. But then after lunch, I have a couple of places that I want to apply to. There's one very specific position that was actually posted, which I think could work well for me. And then there are a couple of places that I just wanna send my application to, be like, hey, honestly, I think you guys could use someone in this area. I could do X, Y, and Z for you. How does that sound? It is not even 10 minutes later, but we have an update. I sent out an application on Friday for a position that so I wanted something similar to the position, and I kind of proposed to them what could work for both of us. I was essentially all day today kind of hoping to get an answer like as soon as possible, and maybe a positive one, so I can have some sort of a glimmer of hope, because genuinely that position would have been really, really sick if it had worked out. It would have been pretty perfect, so that was kind of my thing getting me through the weekend. I just got a no from them. Apparently the position is already filled, which it's still on their website, so I don't necessarily believe that it's already filled, but whatever. I got a no, and that means that essentially there is nothing currently open and in the works that I would really want. There are still some applications that I haven't gotten an answer for yet, most of which I would have to move for, none of which I'm super duper excited about, but I don't think I'm going to get answers. I'm back to zero. I'm literally back to a point where I might as well have sent no applications out, other than the fact that now I know that like 80% of the positions out there that I could fill, I can't in fact fill because they don't want me, or they have already been filled, whatever. Really just wanted to look at a couple and then have a lunch break and then start with motivation and everything. That's not happening now. I'm a little lost. And the worst part is I would love to just call my sister or friend or whatever and just chat for a while and hang out and do something to distract me. But everyone's working. Everyone and their mother is working or working on a thesis or something. They're all busy because most people work at 2 p.m. Towards the end of September, I had a decision to make because, like I said, early October was when I was going to have my presentation to finish my master's and therefore officially be unemployed. And I decided that I was going to take 1 more month to keep looking for jobs within my industry before I was going to branch out and look for entry-level positions elsewhere that do not require a big education. This decision, especially within the first week, really, really helped me mentally to not be as stressed about my tight timeline, and it was incredibly helpful. Now, this decision also came with to-dos that I had to do, for example, figuring out my health insurance, because you have to be insured in Germany, and I was going to no longer be a student, so that would have to switch. And then on top of that, there was something else. Yes, figuring out financial aid for the month of October. I had lunch, I had a little bit of a cry, and a lot of time passed. I don't know, it's 4:15, but I am getting an application ready right now for the only job in the right job description that has popped up in like the last 2 months, which does actually sound very nice, very fitting. Yeah, but I'm just not into getting my hopes up anymore, so I'm going to get this application put together. I will get it out, we will see what happens, and after this one's done, I will probably take a break because the other ones, there's no... I had lunch, I had a little bit of a cry, some time passed, it is now 4:15, and I am getting an application ready for a job posting that popped up on Friday already, actually, and it's a part-time position. It, task-wise, fits my bill very, very well. Like, it's a very, very good option, but I do not want to get my hopes up again. So I'll just send it out and we will hope for the best, but honestly, anything can happen as always. Good morning. It is Friday. I have no idea how many applications I sent since I last talked to you. Not that many. I have gotten absolutely no positive feedback. I got one where it was like, not right now, but we'd love to keep your info for in the future because we do think you would be a great fit. After not being successful looking for jobs within my industry, I decided it was now time to look elsewhere. This was mentally a very, very hard decision for me to make. So I spent 6 years of my life being a full-time college student, setting myself up for a career in a specific field, learning tons of ins and outs about the industry, about the product, and I did that specifically to be able to get positions going forward with higher pay. Otherwise, I would not have spent 6 years learning what I did. And at that point, choosing to say actively, I am going to pursue and look for other roles that I could have gotten 6 years ago without that education. I did not need that education, which luckily in Germany isn't expensive, but it took a ton of time. I could have just started working 6 years ago, made money, started saving, and instead, at this point, I felt like I had completely wasted the 6 years of my life, which was a really hard pill to swallow. Now, even though it was a difficult decision to make, it was one that I had to make. I'm very happy that I did, and there were two big factors that really, really helped me to kind of be at ease and happy with that decision. One big one was that I decided to prioritize location over job description. I had decided at that point it is more important to me to right now stay in Berlin and have a job that makes me happy, that I enjoy doing, over having the job for me for the next, I don't know, let's say 5 years, and being willing to move for said job. I realized that my priority at this point in time was staying here and having a job that I enjoyed. That was one big one. And the second one was having people around me who have always had some type of odd job. So currently I live with my partner and another roommate, and both of them have had tons of different odd jobs throughout the years, whereas I, quite frankly, haven't. I haven't had a ton of other jobs outside of my industry. So for these new positions, I was gonna need a new CV. Why? Because I currently have one CV that very much focuses on my fashion background. I have one CV that very much focuses on my social media background. And now I needed a CV which was going to be a little bit more neutral, less big of a focus on either of those. And I want to take this moment to quickly talk about photos on your CV. I'm a person, I actively decide against photos on my CV most of the time. So about a year ago, I had a conversation with a previous professor of mine talking about application process, job searches, interviews, how do you go about it, and she said that photos on the CV, even though they are not always the norm anymore, she finds them very important. They give your possible future employer kind of a bit of a feel for the person, and she thinks that they can really transfer a lot of information, and they are something personable, positive to have on your CV. Here's my issue with photos and why I usually stay away from them. I know that people with a different background than my own, who are not white, female, cis, that look German, even though I'm not all the way German, I am also the daughter of an immigrant, I know they are being discriminated against. And whether the person hiring is doing this consciously or subconsciously, it does not matter. It is happening. And I don't think that I deserve a leg up on those people. And because of that, I do not put a picture in my CV because I want to help normalize not putting pictures on them so we can help against these conscious or subconscious biases, which is why usually I actively avoid pictures, photos on my CV. All of this to say, when I started applying for jobs at grocery stores and so on, I did actually end up putting a photo on there. And the reason for that is I was planning on going there in person as well and just kind of being like, hey, I applied this and that, and so that they would have me visually from being there and then the picture of the CV as well to be able to link them and say, hey, she showed initiative, she showed up. That is the reason I chose to add a photo onto that as well, and here's me taking that photo. All right, I'm just quickly setting up this tripod with my camera, getting myself in front of a white wall, and let's take some self-timer pictures. This was the first phase of my job search. I will show you phase number 2 in my next video. My next video does actually have a happy ending, so in case you guys need some motivation, a little bit of a push to keep going. I know it is incredibly hard. There is a couple of clips that I edited out of this video, but I want to say that I understand that the job search process is incredibly lonely. No one else can write your CV for you. No one else can do your interview for you. No one else can go through getting rejection after rejection for you. And then for me, one really big factor was also I stopped sharing all of my setbacks with other people because it wasn't going to help them. It already brought my day down. It didn't need to bring someone else's day down. So for weeks, my family wasn't getting updates on how it was going. They had the last good news, and after that, nothing was shared with them. And same with my partner. As much as I wanted to, at times, when I got a rejection via email, tell him straight away, I knew that that was just going to ruin the rest of his day, feeling bad for me in my position, whereas I could just wait for him to come home and then at some point maybe share it with him, but he could enjoy his day before that freely without thinking or worrying about me. And that was really tough. It is not an easy thing to deal with. So people who believe that you are just sitting and waiting to get a job and not really doing anything about it, oh, you're just writing an application or two, I know that it can be mentally incredibly hard, tough, and draining. But you got this. Keep pushing through. I believe in you. And you're not the only one going through it right now. Thank you for watching.